Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Premier Injuries Daily Injury Roundup. Where to start? Well, we'll go with Cesar Azpilicueta first up. The Spaniard was caught flush in the face by Southampton player Saku Mora. That knocked him out. Thankfully, as he was being stretched off the pitch, he did regain consciousness, waved at the crowd, and he was taken to hospital for further assessments and precautionary evaluations. Thankfully, there doesn't look to be anything too serious. He posted an update on Twitter on Sunday, thanking everybody for their support. You may have seen the short that we released via YouTube on Saturday night. Unfortunately, for copyright reasons, that's been pulled for the moment. We've put a dispute in, but under enhanced care protocols, in theory, Azpilicueta could return next weekend. However, given the severity of that impact and, of course, the worry with regards to that second impact syndrome, it could be that Graham Potter does decide to err on the side of caution and keep him out of the firing line. He does have to come through a number of protocol evaluations without any kind of reaction, even to put himself into consideration. But given the fact that Chelsea are well stocked in most departments, then I suspect that he may be kept out for at least a week or so. There are no guarantees, of course, even if he does return to training. We've seen that with Pascal Struijk of Leeds. He was going through that concussion protocol on that final session on the eve of that game at Goodison Park. He actually complained of fogginess. That was an immediate red flag, and he was put back into those concussion protocols. So great news on Azpilicueta, and hopefully he'll be back very soon. We'll stick with Leeds, and Max Wober was forced off. Took a bit of a knock early doors, awkward landing on his shoulders. That was revealed post-match as a partial dislocation, so there's potentially some damage in and around that ligament area. Pascal Struijk hopefully will return. That would put him maybe on the left-hand side, and we've seen the return of Liam Cooper to the matchday squad, although he wasn't ready for minutes due to that muscle problem. In terms of where we are this week, we have Champions League games coming up. Liverpool, they're playing on Tuesday night against Real Madrid. And now question marks over the availability of Darwin Nunez. He took another heavy fall in a challenge with Kieran Trippier at St. James's Park. Now, the extent of the problem is currently unknown. There doesn't look to be anything too serious. It's a little bit more of pain management. I think I expressed at the time, it looked very similar to the injury that Paquetá had suffered the previous week for West Ham against Chelsea, where there was ligament damage in that. But with regards to Nunez, it doesn't look to be that serious. So fingers crossed that he could potentially make that Champions League game against Real Madrid. And more importantly, for people like me who brought him in ahead of that double game week. Manchester United, they're playing the Europa League on Thursday, that second leg tie against Barcelona. Anthony, he is expected to return to the training pitches this week. Now, it depends on whether Erik ten Hag believes that he's fit enough to be considered for the matchday squad. Of course, United blank this weekend due to their involvement in the Carabao Cup final. There's also means Harry Maguire will be assessed for a knee problem. He was omitted from the matchday squad on Sunday against Leicester because of that injury. Elsewhere, a lot of FPL managers have been asking me with regards to the fitness of Pervis Estupiñán. He came off in and around that 62nd minute at the weekend against Fulham. Thankfully, that locked in 2 bonus points and a clean sheet because Fulham did grab a late winner. Post-match, Roberto De Zerbi confirmed that it was tightness in that hamstring. He doesn't expect it to be anything too serious, and therefore there's good hope that he could potentially be okay for game week 25. Elsewhere within that Seagulls camp, Jakob Mulder, he spent around about 10 months on the sidelines with that ruptured ACL. He is hopefully on his way back. Unable to give any kind of definitive timeline, but De Zerbi says that he does expect him to play again this season. On the opposite end, unfortunately, it looks like bad news for Adam Lallana. He was returning from a hamstring problem, but suffered a significant setback to that same hamstring injury in training. We're certainly looking at months as opposed to weeks, and the medical department have said that the expectation is that he probably won't play again this season. So that's bad news for him. Going back to the Carabao Cup final and my boys Newcastle, we've seen Joe Linton with his own hamstring issue. This was one that Eddie Howe brought the Brazilian off as a precautionary measure. Joe Linton wanted to stay on, felt the back of his right leg, a little bit of a tweak in there, but hopefully, again, nothing too serious. We do know that Bruno Guimaraes, we've missed him over those last 3 games, does come back into contention after serving a 3-match ban. Tottenham back to winning ways with a 2-0 win over London rivals West Ham. And lots of changes from Christian Stellini or Antonio Conte, whoever you believes is pulling the strings still at this time. But the surprise selection decisions at the weekends was we got to Heung-min Son and Ivan Perisic. Both of those players were on the bench. Stellini said that both have been suffering post-World Cup just in terms of their overall fitness, sharpness, form, and a little bit of fatigue as well. So that's the reason behind why they were both benched. For Everton, good win over Leeds on Saturday. That winner coming from Seamus Coleman. Nathan Patterson played for the under-21s on Friday evening. Amadou Onana, he was forced off. He's managing an ongoing knee problem. It's easy to forget that the young midfielder, only 21, is having his first season in the top flight. Sean Dyche said that he is able to manage the problem, and as his fitness improves and as he adapts to the Premier League, then that shouldn't become a long-term issue. Just touching upon a quick update as well on Dominic Calvert-Lewin. The club are said to be investigating a whole host of matters with regards to his most recent hamstring problem and his availability record over the last 18 or so months. They're said to be looking at things to do with his diet, his nutrition, his psychology, even the type of bed that he sleeps on. We've even heard in the past, very similar things with the likes of Ryan Giggs back in the day, or Jack Rodwell, who ended up moving house, moving closer to training ground, and also changing his car for their seating position. For Fulham, Alexander Mitrovic failed a late fitness test. Now, Marco Silva had explained prior to the weekend's game against Brighton that he had a problem while warming up against Nottingham Forest a week before. He did manage to complete 84 minutes in that game, but subsequent assessments and evaluations that week meant that he wasn't available in game week 24. Thankfully, again, it doesn't look to be anything too serious, but whether he can return this weekend remains to be seen. So that's it for now. That's your Premier Injuries Daily Weekend Roundup. Of course, you can always check out the injury table at www.premierinjuries.com, or you can speak to myself or Jason on our Twitter handles. Keep following for all of the latest and breaking injury news.